Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bucs Bounty. Michael McKenry joins us, Stephen Brault with you. And today, a fantastic special guest that we all know and love, Jumpin' Jack Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Nothing really too specific that we're going to quiz you on. Just want to make sure that we're going to get into everything about your baseball life because we just talked about it before we came onto camera. And you watched 4 baseball games in person this last weekend. A true baseball lover. I gotta say, you watched GCU play. I watched GCU play last year, Grand Canyon University, when they still had Zach York, who is now playing for LSU. Just stole his first base yesterday. Stole second base. Nick York's little brother. Not a little guy though. Big man. But Jack, thank you so much for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here, man. I'm excited. I'm excited that college baseball started, training started, so it's a year for sure.
I was trying over here, guys, to be taller than Jack. You see that right there?
Is it working?
So, no, I keep shrinking. I was shrinking. I don't know why I'm shrinking. There you go. Thank you, Jack. No, so I'm actually gonna throw you a little bit of curveball. You got your two of your favorite things on right there. You got Jumpman. I believe that's a Penguins hat, right?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the Penguins. I know you love the Penguins. Hockey's on with the Olympics. I'm super stoked about USA because they are animals, and it seems like they are the Avengers, ready to win. So just talk a little bit about that. Let's take it through your curveball.
Oh man, it's tough. It's tough right now because I was coming through Pittsburgh my 9 years there, and when we drafted Sid, and that kind of changed everything, for Pittsburgh hockey, for the Penguins hockey was getting him, and we had Lemieux there, and Lemieux was a big baseball guy, so he would always come around. So was able to meet and talk with Sid a few different times. So big fan of his. So, but right now having to kind of root against him in a sense. I mean that.
No.
You're hoping that
fully that kind of.
Yes. I feel like that tournament that they did last year to kind of set up for this possible gold medal game, I think that it's almost like another Super Bowl for us. Like USA Canada hockey, I mean, both of those rosters are insane. Like they're just all 3 lines are just stacked with the best players in the game. It's going to be amazing. I'm hoping, obviously, cross your fingers that lines up, that they both take care of business on the way there. And then, but yeah, loving getting back to hockey. I think the Penguins are doing really well. I love the fact that that new kid came up and got 2 goals in his debut. I forget his name, but that was electric to watch. The last game of before Olympics, kid gets his debut and scores twice.
So cool.
You add another guy, I think he was on the 3rd line. So this is like just adding another guy to the mix. It's almost like a trade deadline that you didn't have to make. Just kind of so. I'm excited for this push. I mean, Penguins usually are a second half team. So I'm excited for USA to win gold and then the Penguins to make a nice run here in the Stanley Cup.
I have a quick question about this. Okay. So I grew up not appreciating hockey, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Me too, Stephen. That's why I always ask him.
Wheelhouse. Yep. Yeah. Right. Now I appreciate the Penguins. We go to at least a game every year because it's so much fun being out there. But let's compare this to baseball, right? So if you had a rookie come up for his major league debut, is scoring 2 goals in your NHL debut kind of like, would it be equal to hitting 2 home runs in your major league debut? Or would it be something else would be more comparable?
I think it's harder. I think it's way harder scoring a goal in the NHL because there's no guarantee that you're actually going to have a shot that you're going to, because here's the thing, if you're in the lineup, you got 4 or 5 at bats. So you have opportunities. Like you can be on the ice and not even get an attempt a shot on goal. You don't, depending on where you are. And then for him, I think he only had like 2 shots and scored both of them. Like talk about execution,
efficient.
So I think it's definitely harder. I watched a lot of hockey, and you got a guy like Nathan McKinnon who is probably league in points every year with Colorado. I've seen him go a game and have 1 shot on goal. Yeah, I can see it. I've seen him have a 1 shot on goal, and I've seen him have 7, 8 shots on goal. So you don't know what kind of opportunity you're going to get. But I love that he was mic'd up, and they did that special with him. And he was talking in the clubhouse about, you give me an opportunity, I'm scoring tonight. And he's telling his buddy, his other rookie, like, I'm scoring tonight. And I'm like, I really like that. Like, this dude stepped on the NHL ice for the very first time, and he's talking. He's like, all I need is an opening. Give me an opening. He got one, popped it in. Then he's on the bench, mic'd, and he goes, I'm gonna get another one. And then he got another one. So that type of attitude, that self-confidence, like, that made it even better for me, because, like, this dude even called his own 2 goals. Like, he said, I'm gonna go score.
Right.
And he did. I was like, pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
I think we're gonna have producer Nick Belsky, if you have time during this show, to find out the last Major League Baseball player to hit 2 home runs in their Major League debut. Yeah, I don't know how you would figure that out, but if you can, it would be nice.
We would love you for that. Hold on, Steve. I gotta ask this.
Yeah.
I am gonna transition, but I'm gonna stick with the USA. So 2028 's the Olympics. There's a lot of talk. Maybe MLB guys will do it. Do you think this World Baseball Classic, guys, is going to be the big sell that makes this happen? Because it's probably the best USA team we've ever put out by far. I know Puerto Rico's having some issues, but the Dominican's going to be really good. Japan's always good. It's going to be absolutely electric again, and I think it could be the push that we need to see this. But here's the thing I want you guys really to answer. Do we do the same thing as hockey? It takes some time off and play, because I think that's the best way to go about it.
That's good. I like it. I think it would definitely be something. Like you said, it's going to go off of this World Baseball Classic. I think that USA has an extreme advantage with all the Japanese pitchers not throwing in this World Baseball Classic, and our guys are. I think that makes a huge difference. And like you said, that we've if you look at the Team USA, because I believe we have Skubal, right? We have Skubal and Skeens.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that our best pitchers are in it, but none of the, that's just going to be our. It's hard enough to hit in spring training. So, like, I always keep this. I've never really been huge into this tournament, because it's got to be so difficult to have, like, very little at bats and then jump into a situation where you're playing, for a world title, a sense. So it's hard as hitters, and especially too, like, what an advantage we have when our best pitchers are going against those guys. I know Japan trains quite a bit for this for a long period of time. They have the availability to do that, but I would love to see it I do love the college game though in the Olympics. I think that's pretty awesome too. I think either way you go is going to be amazing. I mean, we've had plenty of Olympics without baseball, so I think it's where you even having it in the first place.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, the international competition in baseball has been driven by the WBC, obviously much more so than the Olympics, because we haven't even had baseball in the Olympics for a while. But, for me, I think what it comes down to is what Jack said. The WBC is special because it's its own thing, right? It's this big separate, everybody knows what they're going into. You get guys. Like, let's be honest, Nick Gonzalez, for example, is going to play for Team Mexico in the WBC, and that's really cool. That's a great opportunity. But in order for him to do that, right, he had to look back to his, to multiple generations before to get a birth certificate to get himself allowed to be on that Team Mexico team. And when it comes to the Olympics, it seems like a lot of those, I mean, these are full on, guys who live in the country that they're representing. There is I think a different kind of feel that way. I would be curious to see how players would be able to play differently, because they have a whole half season almost of at bats and everything and innings going into the Olympics. If they were to do that, it seems like Major League Baseball players would be in the best shape that they're going to be in, right? So it would almost be them at the top of their game. I would love to see that. I don't think it's necessary, because the WBC has become what it is. It is a huge deal all around the world. This year, the coverage is going to be so great. It's going to be so involved. And I'm really excited to watch as much of the WBC as I can, especially because we just keep getting more Pirates getting thrown in. Kyle Nicholas now playing for Team Italy as well. So, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of representation.
Italy's out there recruiting.
That you can. Exactly. A lot of
Yeah, they just grabbed
representation
one of my
that you
guys.
can go,
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait to watch Team Italy play, even though I don't really have any specific connection to them, because a guy that I watch on my team is going to play there. And I think that that's a really cool concept. I don't think they're going to make that change for the Olympics. I really don't.
This USA Canada thing has really opened my eyes in hockey that, you know, if you're really going out and fighting for your country, I know the World Baseball Classic is one thing, but going to Olympic Village, going to the opening ceremonies, all those things, you know, could you imagine Skeens and these guys walking out holding the flag? I feel like they'd be the
It would be
dream
pretty
team.
cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they'd be our generation's dream team, like with Jordan and Pippen and all those guys that went out and just dominated the world. We're like, yeah, we're United States boys. Welcome over here. You know, especially that it's in LA. It's in LA. So we'll wait and see, but I wanted to get your all's thoughts on that. Steven, I'll let you take the next question. I really like that.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, it's funny.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about the USA baseball, because this is something you guys are both involved in, something I've been very curious about since we've talked about it a lot, Michael. One of my favorite things, Jack, is during the season, as we're watching games, Michael all of a sudden just turn his laptop to me and go, look at this kid. And it's some 16-year-old from somewhere in the country that he's like, this is going to be the next blah, blah, blah. And he's always right. I mean, the guys that you guys coach on those teams are impressive players. I just kind of want to get into that a little bit, how you got into it, one, and two, what do you enjoy about working with players from all around the country in this a very cool kind of how do you say it? Like you have to get requested to be on this team or invited to be on this team. That's correct.
Yes. Yeah. So my first, it was actually Andy Stankiewicz, who was Jacob's head coach at Grand Canyon. He had reached out to me. They were doing a small, he was doing a small event at LA, and I was coaching over at a high school in Thousand Oaks, California. And one of the coaches for the USA 18U national team was under the weather and couldn't make the trip. And so he called me to kind of be in a fill-in, and that was the first time I got in with USA. It was a great weekend. Got to meet kind of the big wigs of USA, and then from then on got invited to trials the next year, and then even more so throughout the next couple summers. So been doing it with them for right around six years. It's a hard process. I was on staff for 2 of those years, which means you're on the actual national team staff with the manager. I was a third base coach and infield coach, and man, you're looking at 300 plus videos in December and January, trying to break down to get to 100. And then going from 100, you get them for about 8 or 9 days. And they're doing, we're breaking up into 4 teams of 25, and you're letting them play. And then you got to somehow break those down, 100 down to 40. And then later in the summer, after they do all their events and stuff like that, you get them back. And then out of that 40, you got to make 20 to make a national team. So very difficult decisions to make, long meetings at night, trying to make the right decision for the national team. But yeah, it's amazing to watch like the best of the best. Like, what does that look like at 17 years old? Basically, they're juniors in high school going into their senior year. So this is their summer going into their senior years, and just how amazingly good at baseball they are at that point. And just watching a lot of their work ethic is pretty darn impressive too. Some of them, like a lot of those guys, you'll see some talent where you're like, all right, they're just bigger, stronger, better than everybody else, and they just kind of do their thing. But then there's some really hard workers and very coachable players who are always interested in knowing more and getting better. And those guys are usually the ones that make that 20-man roster, and those usually we see on TV relatively soon after they leave Team USA via the draft. And because you're basically working with every first round draft pick that's going to be out of high school, and then you see them, they get to the big leagues at a very young age. So we've had a couple of those guys, and then there's a lot more coming. So it's a pretty rewarding to be able to look back and see, those guys where they were at that time, and then see them succeed and go to the big leagues. But it is really impressive to watch what a 17-year-old baseball player can do. These guys are incredible.
And Jack, talk a little bit about how you evaluate shortstops. The first year I was with you, it kind of mind boggled me. It was like, yep, that's him. And it was really early, Steven. It wasn't like 3 days in. It was like a day and a half. And there's no way he could have seen all the players. He's able to do that every year. I've learned a lot from him. I think everybody can learn something from Jack and how he evaluates infielders, because literally now he's got the pedigree that he walks in and they're like, who's the guy? And he pretty much picks the guy almost every year. So just talk a little bit about whether it's because last year I thought was interesting. Aiden Ruiz. There's other guys I thought like did things better, but this guy just did things that were so unorthodox. He could even throw left-handed, Steven, and play the outfield left-handed. Also threw 88 off the mound left-handed, but shortstop, obviously right-handed. So really, really crazy athlete. He got bad reads, but always made up for it. And Jack, just talk a little bit about that because he ended up winning a gold with that team as the starting shortstop.
Yeah. It's just, you're looking at a shortstop, you're looking at, their feet, their hands, obviously their arm. I really care about the carry of the arm on what the ball looks like as it's going to first. Does it kind of fade at the end or does it go through the target? But I don't know. It's probably the same thing. You look at catchers, it's like you did. So you play that same position, like, what it takes. You were a great defensive catcher. Defense was my thing. So those things kind of just pop up for me like that just immediately. And so many of those guys have it. So it's almost like it's not even a situation like, for example, when we 2022 World Cup, our best shortstop was Colt Emerson at the time. We had three dudes. We had Kevin McGonigal, who you're going to see in the big leagues this year. My call for American League rookie, by the way. You had Dylan Cupp, who was a stud, who's at Dallas Baptist. And then you had Colt Emerson, who was the first round with the Mariners. Like, we had three dudes, and you couldn't go wrong really with any of them. But we put Colt Emerson, who was probably the best overall shortstop out of all of them, at third base because you needed to field bunt against, Japan, Chinese Taipei, Korea. You needed that third baseman to be able to move like a shortstop because they used the bunt so much. So a lot of times with USA, your best shortstop actually you slide to third because of how much they're going to touch the ball in different types of situations. So
Grady Emerson played third this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's just fun to watch, like, those kids play defense. And Reese was so nasty with the glove. Like, he even had like a really small glove. I think he like an 11 or 11 and a half, which is much smaller than a normal shortstop glove. And he just had that kind of Latin flair in a sense where he could just do everything one-handed. He can make a bad read and somehow pick it in some weird orthodox way. And at that point, when you're that good and you can catch the ball wherever you're at with your stance, wherever you're at with your angles, and you can still make the play and catch the ball. And he had a great arm. I was like, all right, that guy is never going to be in a place where he's going to be stuck. He's going to be able to be athletically, be able to figure it out. And so it was really impressive to watch him. And he made some really nice plays in the World Cup last year too. So he's another guy to keep an eye for. But there's so many. Every infielder, every second baseman, shortstop, third baseman in the USA baseball they're all usually nasty shortstops. We can only use one.
No one destroys a baseball like Oneil Cruz.
That is the hardest hit ball in known Major League history.
Pitchers should consider themselves warned.
And it is gone! There's a Cruz missile!
Log in with your cable provider and stream the Pirates all season long on SNP 360.
As a great defender, I've always been curious about this because I was a pitcher and we worked on defense and PFPs for a few minutes, every day in spring training.
Yeah.
But you guys are such good athletes.
Yeah. The amount that people would complain about the small amount of defensive work we actually had to do, I thought was hilarious.
What about now? You don't even have to bunt or hit. It's wild.
I know, right?
Wild.
Yeah, you don't have to work.
Tough. You go play golf every day. It's
for 15 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so as a shortstop, for all the young shortstops out there, because let's be honest, everybody wants to be a shortstop. It's the coolest position, man. You either have to be a pitcher like me, or you got to be a weirdo like Michael to actually want to be a catcher. Those guys are always weird. But everybody who wants to be a shortstop, when you're growing up and you're learning how to be a good defender, because shortstop is one of those positions that you can get really high in baseball with the glove, right? It's not like a lot of other positions where you have to be a great hitter first and foremost,
Right.
and then the defense is secondary. Shortstop is still that position, and catching, where defense can get you to the big leagues. What do you suggest young players to work on the most? Do you suggest, more live kind of reps where you're getting balls off the bat in the position, or are there more specific things when it comes to footwork and glove work that you think is more important than just getting live reads?
Yeah, for me, it's just reps on top of reps. Like being able to make a ground ball, like muscle memory. Like I tell kids, like if you put a ball on a tee, and I say hit a line drive up the middle, pretty much everybody can. It's just because it's in their muscle memory. They've done it so many times. I was like, I wanted to make defense muscle memory, so where I didn't have to think, I just reacted, and that came with us a ton of reps off a fungo or a machine, whatever it is, just over and over and over. I wanted basically my body to remember every angle of every ball, every position, every foot position that I was in. I knew exactly what arm angle I needed to throw from. I needed, wherever my feet were, whether they were crossed or open, whatever it may be. I think that helped me out the most, was just taking more ground balls than everybody. That was just kind of my thing. I do like little hand workouts. I was always a guy that threw a ball against the wall and worked on picking balls and all the different ways that, you feel the ball. I would do it before the game every day. I'd throw a ball against the wall and I would just kind of just pick, then backhand, then forehand. And that was kind of like my routine before the game. So I do like a lot of those handsy, understanding where to pick the ball type of stuff. But I also really liked, I never wanted to feel the ball off a bat in batting practice, but I wanted to get reads, because just, the ball's going to hit 95, 100 plus every time they hit a in batting practice, because the ball's coming in at 48, 49 miles an hour. They're going to smash it. I don't want any part of that in the infield before a game, but I will get reads. I will get first step jabs to left or right, depending on where the ball's hit. Even if it's a fly ball to right, like I'm doing a prep step and I'm jabbing to that side, trying to get the fastest step off the bat that I could possibly have. That was actually probably my favorite drill. And, I never fielded the ball off of that drill, but I would just get that first step explosion, like as the ball's coming in, see the swing, and almost try to think where that ball's going to be going and try to take a step that direction or whatnot. That's one of my favorites that I tell players, like sometimes you can just stand there and not feel the ball and get a lot of good mental and physical work in on that first step is so important for an infielder, is anticipating where that thing's going to go, getting a first good explosion step, and gaining a lot of range from that.
I absolutely love that. I actually do that with my catchers now, having them off to the side or behind the guy that's actually catching, and just kind of mirror what they would do, or just even sit there and watch and just have it in their mind. It's an incredible thing. Jack, talk a little bit, one, about that fungo machine that you just brought up, because that blew me away when we were at the ABCA. And then also, what's the balance between the fundamentals to just being an absolute athlete? I think you use soccer as an example of something that made you a really good athlete, really good feet, but you got to some extreme things, and you still play shortstop for fun, and you still do some weird things. How did you find that balance of fundamentals, alligator, put it in, throw it, one hand where you had to reach because you couldn't reach it with the other hand? Just talk about how you really balance that, because I'm around, I think all of us have been around kids, and they get so locked in on what they're great at, and they very rarely get vulnerable. And I feel like that's a miss in the game. And then all of a sudden they're vulnerable in the game. Like, oh, I'm so bad. They picked little Tommy. And it's like, but little Tommy's been diving and getting up and throwing. He knows who he is.
Yeah.
So
no doubt.
just jump into that a little bit more.
Yeah. I invested in a Fungo Man automatic
you heard of this,
ground
Steven?
ball machine that holds
it's incredible.
holds like 200 balls, and then you can program it to shoot all different types of ground balls. So I have a specific shortstop program, and I had got that towards the end of my career. And it allowed me to not even need a fungo guy. I had the machine, and then obviously did wonders for Jacob and a lot of players that would just show up in my backyard to take ground balls. But it really allowed me as a coach to take ground balls with them and show them different ways.
That's the best part for me.
I don't really teach my way in a sense. I know what was good for me, but every infielder's got to figure out what's good for them. They got to figure out, because we're all we have different DNA. We have different type of athleticism. We're different sizes. I don't teach Jacob the way I feel because Jacob's 6'3". So that's a completely different infielder, a completely different way of doing things in a sense than a 5'10" shortstop, than what a 6'3" shortstop has to do, and the different things he's got to ask his body to do that I didn't have to because I wasn't as tall. So everybody's different, you know. And I think what you said about the athleticism and the fundamentals, I think you got to mix them both. I mean, but I always said you got to find out what works for you and perfect it. Like what works for you? What arm angle from this spot? And it's specific for the ground ball. The speed of the ground ball plus the speed of the runner is what you have to ask yourself to do. That's why a lot of times you have to imagine in your head before the ball is hit to you who is running. You have to set yourself up for a slow runner, a medium runner, or a fast runner. You have to practice all three of those speeds because that's what you're going to get. And especially now, there's not many hard 90s in Major League Baseball anymore. They are telling these guys not to run hard because they don't want them to get hurt on a random ground ball to shortstop. They're telling them peek in, you see it fielded, break down to 60%, jog through the back. We hate it as old school baseball guys, but that's just the way it's being done now. Most of the guys aren't running a hard 90 because they're being told not to. It's not a dogging thing. They're just saying, hey, like, I don't want you getting hurt running out a routine 6'3". So now it's like, okay, now I know this guy is a slow runner. This ball's hit this way. How do I react? How much of this do I have to, I can gain ground. I can have more strides now because I know this guy is going to run a 5.5 90. So it's understanding and using the athleticism and the fundamentals plus the timing factor, especially at shortstop. We have the least amount of time than any infielder when the ball's hit to us. So all that stuff is, I always preach, like, as much as you can put game time thoughts in your head while you're doing practice, it's putting yourself in a game situation, and that really becomes in with, especially speed of the ball, speed of the game. That's everything on the defensive side of it, especially as a shortstop, is understanding what to do when it's a slow runner, what to do when it's a fast runner. Because if you hit me with the same ground ball 3 times and there's 3 different runners, speed type, I'm going to do 3 different things after I feel the ball, because I'm not going to get rid of it like Ichiro's running if Pujols is running. So it's a different way of going about it, but you got to train it. You got to imagine it in your head. But I do have a question for you, Mike. Are you really comfortable right now? Because I feel like you have like a Mai Tai on your left hand that we can't see, and your feet are up. Maybe Jackie's giving you like a foot rub or something. Because, dude, you look super comfortable.
That has been my life the last 4 weeks, bud. Yeah.
Yes.
Lean back, have my Snuggie on. Yeah.
Bring me the pizza rolls.
Snuggie. Oh yeah. Now pizza rolls. Yeah.
Ma, the meatloaf.
I missed Totino's pizza rolls, by the way. That was like my whole college life.
What about pizza?
Those things. Can't eat them
bagel.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
you can have pizza anytime.
No doubt. Yeah. That's legit.
Okay, so Jack Wilson is joining us here with us on the show, just in case you're listening to us and you can't see his face. Jack, I was kind of curious. Let's go from, we've been talking more about youth baseball and how a lot of guys in the coaching and high school level play. Let's transition to professional baseball. I always like to talk about this with guys because I think it's a little bit interesting. The things that you learn that you have to change when you get to pro ball. The article just came out the other day. Henry Davis quoted this week saying, there were things that worked really well for me in college offensively that I thought would always continue to work for me throughout my career. Then he learned that things that he thought as a catcher worked for him, he had to readjust to get to when he was in the major leagues, and he became such a great catcher. Now he's trying to apply the same thing, realizing that just because something works at a lower level of baseball doesn't mean it's going to work at the highest level. I'm just curious what you found in your game, maybe adjustments you had to make going from playing college baseball to playing professional baseball and then up to the major leagues.
P.S. I love that voice. Big step for him.
Yeah. I think every year is an adjustment. I honestly, I think I don't remember having an off season that I wasn't adjusting something to make myself better. My goal after the first first day of the off season was to write everything down that went good and everything down that I didn't like about my game. And then I would structure my off season according to those two things. All right, I want to still be great at this, but I really have to focus on this because this was one of the weaker parts of the game. So my off-season training was completely different every year, depending on what I needed to do to be a more well-rounded player. So if it was, I want more explosive, step left or to my right, it was a lot of plyometric work that off-season, a lot of jumping, a lot of tennis, a lot of basketball, like fast-moving, quick foot type of stuff. One off-season I went to, you know what, I'd rather have that ball come off a little bit hotter. And so it was a major lifting off season where I got after it, and I learned a lot. It was stupid because I came in absolutely jacked, but I lost range on the defensive side. So then I was like, okay, that's good to know. I mean, the ball was coming off crazy. I think he had 5 home runs in April. I mean, that year in 2006, I believe. I mean, I was like you.
Jackie Jack.
I was freaking jacked. But I was like, I couldn't move. I was like a robot, bro. I was like, oh, that's a base hit. Whoops. I used to get to that. And I'm like, okay, can't do that again. So, but what he's saying is true. It's like, but it's a constant thing because every year we're going to get older. So as we're going through our 20s, we're going to be really strong. We're going to get stronger. And then at some point it's going to go back down. Like, okay, now I'm getting to 30. And now what do I have to ask? Now my body can't do this. So how do I make that play? Or how do I do this now? Because I can't do what I did when I was 25. So what he's saying essentially is the same type of thing. What worked in college when he was 19, 20, now the game is elevated. Now he has to elevate his game and he has to do certain things. And he finds out, okay, when I was facing 91 to 93 every day, this worked. But now 91, 93 is like change-ups. So it's like, it's going to be different. So it's and good for him and understanding that, like I said, I feel like every year, every offseason there are so many adjustments to make, and the guys that get to play a long period of time are the ones that understand that. They understand that, all right, my hardest offseason I ever put myself through physically, mentally, was the year after I went to the All-Star game and won Silver Slugger, because I wanted to do it again. And I went crazy. I went after, and then had it happen. I had my appendix explode in the middle of the night in December 19th or 20th, and I had to have emergency surgery, and they had to cut through my core to get in there and take all the poison out, basically, because I was almost going to die, which would have sucked, and lost the entire offseason. Yeah, I lost the entire offseason. I couldn't eat for, 8, 9, 10 days. I was on IV. All my core work that I did, I was doing what's the big core exercises with all those crazy machines for your core?
Pilates?
A lot of the ladies
I'm gonna say Bowflex.
I was killing Pilates like 3 times a week. And dude, it was nice because I wanted to work on core work and everything. And I didn't because that'll never happen. Anyways, but yeah, so I lost all of it. It sucked. I lost all of it. I came into spring training, I think at 172. My playing weight was 195. I came in at 170, like just paper thin. And it was the worst. It was because I was working so hard. Like I wanted that again. So that was an adjustment I made. But like I finally got some offensive, thump in the bat. I went after it. I spent the entire offseason prior to 2004 working on swinging and offense and being more of an offensive player, and it worked out. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to be that guy. And then it just went completely south. Spent Christmas in the hospital. It was awful. But like I said, very, very important to understand how much of an adjustment this game is to make.
And how you can learn from each instance too, right, Jack? Because you actually had your best defensive year in your mind in 05 after that 04 season.
Right.
Because you were light and you could move well. I want to stay on that subject. Being an honest self-evaluator, we're in a game that tells you who you are and puts a tab on you. And it's very hard to leave. There's one thing that I think that isn't talked about enough, and that's you have to be able to go compete to get more at-bats, get more opportunities. They tabbed Henry Davis as a bad defender, and then all of a sudden he's in right field because he was swinging it well. And it's like this game moves so fast. How do you teach the guys that you work with and Jacob to understand you got to buy in, and the process is really the journey that you're on? It's not the outcome you're looking for. Because once you get the outcome, like you said, you come back, you write down what's good, what's bad, and you re-script what's next. I don't think a lot of guys understand that it doesn't matter what you did at Louisville. It doesn't matter what I did at Middle Tennessee State. As soon as you get to a new team, you're on a new team. You can't chase what you were. You got to chase what you are and what you want to be. And I think that's a giant miss right now in the game.
Absolutely. And it's tough too. I mean, this generation is a little more educated because they've had to deal with ratings and being compared a lot more than we did when we were growing up. All we had was Baseball America.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah.
Now it's PG ranking. It's all that stuff. So mentally they're a little bit better situation because they've been constantly compared to each other coming through high school, through college, on more outlets and social media and stuff like that. I think it's important when you want to play a long time in this game, you have to take those situations and kind of take it personally in a sense. Oh, they're moving me to right field. Like I take that I'm going to take that personally, saying they're not. And I think that's what he has done, is that he's become a better defensive catcher because someone told him he wasn't. And I think that's really important,
everybody,
for young people. Yeah. For young people to understand that sometimes when someone says no, or they tell you a certain thing that you disagree with, you can use that as fuel. And so I think the measure of a Major League Baseball player is, okay, when they're at their low, what do they do? What are the choices they make? And that had to be pretty tough for him to be moved out to the outfield, to be told you're not a good defensive catcher. And he's made decisions off of that has benefited him. He made great decisions. He worked harder. He got better at it. And I think one of my favorite conversations I had with Jacob last year, he was like on an 0 for 22 spot. And, he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, it's okay, because like, this is the best thing for you. And he's like, how is this the best thing for me? I was like, you've never had this happen. You've never had this happen to you at any level. And here's the thing. Yeah. I was like, you're going to come out. It's going to fall for you. It's going to come out, and you're going to come out better, because the next time you start to go through this, you'll remember that, hey, it's going to start falling for you and what you did to get out of it, So whatever that was, whether you're staying inside the baseball more, staying up the middle, whatever it may be, you got to go through those things because it makes you better on the other side. And I think that's a perfect example of what Henry Davis has done with taking that information and be like, okay, you're saying I'm this, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you, I'm going to go make it happen. And so I think that's pretty awesome. And that's kind of his personality too. He's a hard worker. I got to spend a little bit of time with him a couple of spring trainings, and came away with like, all right, this guy is never going to be a guy that's going to be satisfied. He's always going to want to get better.
And real quick, Steven, I'm gonna jump to you, because your story hits hard on this subject. Your sophomore year, your pitching coach comes up to you, says, "Hey, you're not going to throw in games," and I would have been like, "What? No, I want to pitch," but you didn't, because you guys had a plan, you had an aim. One, Steven, kind of lead into trust, and then creating an identity, understanding who you are. Because Jacob, your story about him making the USA team, you had him playing everywhere else but shortstop going into that. And I think just honestly being willing to do just about anything to grow in the game, because that's going to make him a better shortstop. That's going to make him understand the game completely different by moving around, because all of a sudden you understand, how that left fielder is moving, when he's running in at the shortstop and you're running back, it changes everything, because perspective is real. So Steven, kind of jump into that real quick. I think Jack will love it. I don't know if the fans have heard much of that story, but it's an awesome story, because the coach said literally something that is a huge risk for you if you want to go further in the game, because you're not going to pitch the year before your draft year.
Yeah, it was interesting. We had a new pitching coach come in my sophomore year, jacket. Regis University, actually, look at this. Regis University.
Let's go.
Oh, today.
Is that their colors?
Look at that.
Are they black and gold? Black and yellow? Black and gold?
Yeah, no, we're blue and gold, dark blue and gold. But this is our championship shirt from 2012. It was the one year that we won, and this is that year.
That's a lot of this going on. Diggy, dig.
And it was interesting because, like you said, there's a lot of it that goes into trust. But the most important thing was I had a coach come in who, for the first few months in winter, when I was throwing, would basically give me adjustments to make and little things to do. And then when it got to winter time, that's when he brought it up to me, and he said, "Look, I believe that with the way that your body works, we're not getting any of your athleticism out of your delivery. We're not getting any of it. And so you've been told your whole life to, for me, it was throw strikes at the bottom of the zone, right? It was always fastball at the bottom of the zone. And that's all you're ever thinking about instead of letting your body go. And so yeah, we decided to go through it. Jack, I was a two-way player in college, so I still hit that year, but I didn't pitch at all. And I threw a bullpen twice a week and went through from the beginning, like I was learning how to throw again as a little kid.
Yeah.
And completely revamped my entire delivery throughout the season. And then I came back the next year and I was throwing 90 miles an hour when before that I was throwing 82, 83. And it was obviously I grew a little bit, I got a little bit stronger, but a lot of it was just the fact that there was so much more there that I needed a coach to come and tell me, hey, I'm going to be honest, you're kind of not very good, but we can make you a lot better if we want to commit to this and do it. And I think that the interesting thing about that is everybody hits that kind of that threshold at a different level. Like the way you said, this is the first time Jacob went over 22, you know? Well, that's awesome that it took him all the way to the major leagues to get to that point. A lot of guys,
but rare, only rare.
Right, exactly. A lot of guys are going to hit that threshold in high school or college or, you know, in the minor leagues at some point, where there's usually going to be some point in your career that you can look back to and say, this is when things changed for me. And you know what? I think that's a really good leading in question for both of you guys. Can you guys give me, when you look back at your career, what was the moment that things changed for you where you realized, oh, wait, I may actually be able to do this for real?
Go ahead, Mikey.
So, the two things jump out at me. My freshman year, I had a GPA higher than my batting average. First time I ever failed. I hit 169. Long story short, I became an All-American, so that changed real fast. But I had a perspective shift that the game shifts in my freshman year. I was such a naive kid. I was living in Looney Tunes. And it was really good for me to fail, go to summer ball, have someone help me with a couple adjustments, similar to what you guys were talking about. And I took off. He saw a little bit of potential. I met him, boom. And then another moment, probably the coolest moment of my pro career, I was in low A and I was the hardest human being on myself. Anything that anybody could say to me, I'd already said it to myself with explicitive language and everything else in my head. So I had my coach pull me in after a game, and I had a good game. I was like 2 for 3 with a walk. I'll never forget the game. Threw out a guy, and I believe we won. The other team only got a couple hits. It's a really good game for me. And I was so hard on myself. He grabs me, pulls me in the office. All three coaches are in there. And he goes, Mac, do you know you're good? And I was like, what? I literally was like, what? He goes, you're really good. He said it a little bit louder with some other words. And I go, thanks. He goes, start acting like it. And that's it. And I walked out and I went home and I was just thinking, like, act like it. Dude, I went off. I went completely bonkers because, like, it was like I was scared of it. I didn't understand what it was like to be the best player on a team in pro ball with all these guys that are from all over the world. It was like I was just a little timid, and he pulled it out of me. So those two moments really stick out. I could go into other ones, but the first time I failed, and then the first time I realized, like, oh crap, I am pretty good. I could do this.
Right.
And I'd already been an All-American. There's so many things you could look back, like, what was I thinking? Right? Like, have a little swagger. Don't look for the affirmation from the coach, but it's a live and learn. Everybody has, like you said, Jack, different DNA, a different upbringing, and that makes them either tentative or maybe for me, it was a little bit jumpy to learn that next new thing because I always wanted to be growing, but I was never satisfied. And that was a problem.
Yeah. No, I'm with you too. I don't think I can pinpoint like a moment just because I was always in the moment, I guess you could say, where I was always challenging myself to be better than I was the day before. So I never really had that like, oh yeah, like I can do this moment. It was just like, you can do this, but you better get better moment. Like it was always consistent, like never, I don't know why I still do it to this day. I'm the same way. It's just like, I don't think anything is ever good enough in a sense to where it's just, it keeps me wanting and working harder and wanting more. And it's, you know, it's I take ground balls with these you know, pro and minor league guys all off season to get them ready for spring training. That's what I do for my agency. We get the fungo man out, and I tell them straight up, I'm like, my plan is to leave here the best infielder, and I'm going to show you guys why. And so I'm still to this day trying to outdo everybody, even these kids that are. Me and Blaze Alexander went after it the entire offseason. Like, who's going to be the better when we leave here today after our 2-hour workout? Like, who's going to be nastier, better, and whatnot. So it's like, I still to this day, and I tell them that, I'm like, if you guys let the 48-year-old beat you, you got problems. But I'm coming. Like, we're getting after it. Like, let's go. And so that I still to this day, it's the same. Like, I get on the field and we're taking ground balls. I'm just gonna look around and be like, I'm gonna show you guys what the best infielder looks like. And it might not be true, but for me it is. You know, so that was always the thought
all that
process,
matters.
and I can't get rid of it. That's right. But I take it into fantasy football. So.
Oh, you love that fantasy football. So something I got to learn recently, Stephen, is the people behind Jack's career always took that next step to make the call to say, come back tomorrow. And those guys would. And they would see something in Jack. They would say, yeah, that's the guy. Because he was a guy that was always overlooked. Very similar to when I was growing up. Didn't matter how good I was, got overlooked. And sometimes you have people, you know, say, hey, just trust me on this one. And meeting some of the people in his life and how that kind of unfolded for him, especially from junior college coach on, it's really cool. It's really cool. It's like the right place at the right time. And that's what he did for me with USA Baseball when I got invited. To round that all in, see what I did there? It's good TV, boys. Round that all in. He put my name out there, and luckily there was 4 teammates and an alumni from my college right there. And they're like, yeah, Mac's a good call. I was like, yeah, I'm back in USA, baby. So
yeah,
it's good to be a good friend and a good teammate. You know what I mean?
Oh man, you do a great job.
Absolutely.
Man. It's
yeah, appreciate you too.
All right, so just a little bit more for you, Jack. I got one more question for you that I want to ask, and this is kind of leading into this season with the Pirates. This has been a different kind of offseason. We've been talking about it. This is obviously our job, so we talk about it all the time. But you know, when it comes down to the Pirates making the moves that they've made to kind of increase the offensive output this year, some of that sacrificing some of the young pitching that we were really excited about, Mike Burrows and oh my gosh, Johan, but Oviedo. I forgot his last name. Johan Oviedo, yeah. Losing these guys to try to grab some more offense and move the team in that direction. Is there a feeling that you get when thinking about this team this year that maybe it's a different identity? Maybe that instead of when we're always talking about playing the best defense and stealing bases and winning in the margins, this team feels more like the classic, hey, let's just go out and beat the other team. If you're playing on a team where that's the mentality, do you feel more confident in your team's ability and your own ability to be able to go out there and win games when it's not, we're going to try to win the little things, but we're just going to try to outright beat teams?
Honestly, it's tough because I was on teams that we never won. I mean, honestly, I was there for 9 years and we didn't win. I love my teammates and we went out there, but like we were always one faceted every year, like kind of what Pittsburgh was last year. Like their staff was so good. Jacob told me that was the best pitching staff he'd faced on a weekend the entire year. He's like every arm that came out was electric, and that was their thing. Like it was going to be, you had to score a few runs because the pitching was going to keep it low. And I think, adding the offense this year definitely is exciting. To get a little more thump in the middle of the lineup, try to get, because you don't really need to score that many more with the pitching that you have with Jared Jones coming back. So I just think too, it's a lot of it when you have new guys in, like kind of what is the clubhouse going to look, who's going to lead the clubhouse, who's going to take those reins. There's so much of that stuff that comes into, like you're talking about, that feeling of, do we just go out and beat guys? There has to be a belief there, number one, in the clubhouse. From all those guys coming in, you got fresh new faces, and you got guys that we're going to depend on that have been there the last 3, 4, 5 years. So it's an exciting team. I think they definitely understood that we need to score more runs, and although we had to give up some nice young arms to get that, but then now you make this run. Hopefully you have some guys come up from the minor leagues with some offensive spark. Some young guys, maybe a Termarr Johnson makes the leap a little bit. He's getting to that point where he's getting to that 22, 23-year-old age where he might be able to make this offensive turn and help out in the big leagues. So, if you look at every team that's successful, you always have guys that come up from the minor leagues and make an impact, younger guys that make an impact. And that's almost like an injection into when you have a young player come up and help you that you're expecting or whatnot. That's like a huge injection into a club. So they're obviously excited about it. Yeah. Oh, Konnor. Konnor's tough. Gosh dang, Konnor was a center fielder on our national team. He didn't even play short. Yeah. He could have.
Did not see the shortstop coming.
The center fielder. I have my thoughts on Konnor. I know you want him there. I would love to see him do what the A's did with Kurtz. Get him a nice spring training. If he goes out and kills it in AAA, bring him right back. I would love to see that. That helped. That was because Kurtz was ready for Major League Baseball. I've watched a heck of a lot of A's games in spring training last year, every single one of them. And that dude was ready. And they said, hey, just go down. And then he absolutely made freaking AAA look like T-ball. And he forced his way back up. I think that's the way to do it with Konnor too. He's never struggled. To this day, still has never struggled. That scares me for a young player. I hope he never does. I hope he's the truth. I hope he's the next coming of Derek Jeter and whatever big muscly 6'5" shortstops look like, whatever, A-Rod. But I would love to send him to AAA, get his feet wet, get him some spring training, send him. He did the same thing with Skeens. The same thing with Skeens. Send him down. He's like, all right, he's ready. Send him right back up. All right, there's your rookie of the year. That's what I would love. As much as I want to see him in a Pirates shortstop, and the story of the year in the beginning of the season would be that he makes the opening day roster as a 19-year-old kid or 20-year-old, whatever he is. But longevity-wise, that would be the move I would like. That's just me from Arizona.
And I'm with you. I could see it. I could see that happening either way, Jack. I mean, they're obviously pushing in all their chips. They reconstructed this team from a pitching defense to a pitching offense. The defense became third. And that's where I want to lead into this. So you've coached Nicky G, you've coached Termarr. You've seen these guys. Like, they have Termarr taking ground balls at third. Nicky G is taking ground balls at short and third. And then I've even mentioned that if O'Hearn's going to play left, which is he's way worse defensively compared to first base, where he's actually a plus defender. If you moved Horwitz to third, talk about that shift. If guys did that in the big leagues and how hard it is, how much work it is, and the toll. And this is a big key for me, where I see maybe something coming that could really hurt this team is if guys have to shift, they have to work. And that work is going to have detriment to their ability to hit.
No doubt. It's tough if you're, it's one thing to work in spring training and work at all these different spots. If you're doing it in the middle of the season, that's really difficult. Termarr was our second baseman and our third baseman for Team USA. So he has a background of playing third, and he'll be fine. I actually like him there. I do like him there at third base. Get him a little bit bigger glove. Now he goes to 11 3/4 to 11.5, 11, second baseman's glove. I think he's good there. I think that frees him up offensively too, because there's so much that comes with playing second base. Third base is typically the easiest position out of the infielders to play, just because it's just so reactionary. It's step dive. It's the ball's on top of you. So see ball, go get ball, throw ball to first.
He could be more athletic there, you think?
I think so. I think he'd be fine. Yeah, I think that, and they see that too. I think, he obviously can play a big league second base, but if you're looking for offense, all right, this guy's not going to hurt us at third base by any means. The second base is going to be a little more difficult, especially at the big league level when it's that fast. I think to have a bunch of guys that can play in different spots like Nicky G, you can throw him anywhere in the infield, and he's going to be good. He can play third too, So having the ability to kind of mix and match and move guys around is always important. Doing it in the middle of the season has got to be probably the toughest thing that a player has to do. So you hope to get all this stuff done in spring training, where they can show that they can do that, throwing them in the outfield, whatever. Because I've seen it happen where guys come up and Ryan Doman was a switch hitting catcher for us, and they were trying to teach him how to play first base, and then it didn't go well. But there's so much to learn. It's like, I don't know, man. I feel like I had a hard time moving from short to second. like my entire life, I'm looking at baseball from one side of the field, and people are like, oh, it's an easy transition. I'm like, I could not pick up the ball off the bat from playing second base. I couldn't read the ball off the bat at all. My first step was so slow because I was reactionary instead of anticipating where the ball was going to go off of the read of the bat, because I had only saw it from one side of the field my entire life. Then I'm on this other side of the field towards later in my career, and I'm like, I have no idea where the ball's going. Like I can't read it off the bat. It was the weirdest thing. I was the worst second baseman. I had no range, so I couldn't read the ball. It was weird. So it's not as easy. Switching positions and sides of the field is a pretty tough thing to go through.
And hey, Steven, I want to ask you guys this question real quick.
What?
Because Steven, this is going to lead into a conversation later on with me and you. Jack, I've talked to multiple dudes about you calling pitches. Steven, has there ever been a shortstop call pitches or anybody that's helped you through the game? I mean, we've obviously heard Spanky up in the booth did it for Bob Walk. Throw him another breaking ball. Throw him the hook. So talk a little bit about that. Both of you guys first, Steven, is there anybody? And Jack, talk about why and how you became good at that, because I think that's the coolest part.
I'll tell you one thing. One time in AA, Adam Frazier told me, hey, you can't see the ball. Just throw this guy 3 sliders. We'll go back in the dugout.
Yes.
And I said, okay. And then I threw a fastball, and the guy hit a double off the wall or run scored. And he came up to me and said, you're an effing idiot. And that was when I learned to trust my infielders a little bit more.
Yes.
That's my one.
He said you can't see the ball. And you're like, all right, heater.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's will help you. No doubt. Yeah, no, I think I got we had some young catchers come through the Pirates system after Jason Kendall. So a lot of guys they had trouble with calling their own game, which all of them did. And it was, some of these pitchers had 4 or 5 different pitches they want to throw: cutter, sinker, slider, curveball, change, and they would just be shaking off over and over again and stepping off. So there was a couple times, where those type of guys that had a lot of pitches, I would just say, hey, I have the perfect view from where I'm at. Like, my job is to get the first step. So I'm reading swings. I'm reading if they're stepping in the bucket. I'm reading their shoulders. I'm reading everything. And I always just sit there and be like, oh, if we just threw a cutter away here, he's done. Or like, hey, we pound in here, he can't get to it. Just because I'm reading his body, I'm seeing how he's taking pitches. I'm like, if we threw this, something the pitcher can't see because they're focused on their target. The catcher's focused on catching the ball. Coaches on the side can't see it, but I can. I'm like watching it from a center field cam in a sense. I'm like, I know exactly what we could throw here to be good. And then whack, homer. Well, that wasn't it. We shouldn't have thrown that. So I got a couple pitchers to buy in. I'll be like, hey, if you ever need help, like this is something I like to do in my head. And then Josh Fogg, I think, was the very first one that let me do it on a September. I think it might have been his last start. Ronnie Paulino was catching, and he shook off the entire first inning. And then I just got him together. I'm like, hey, I'm just going to call the game. And Josh is like, okay. And then he would just turn around, and I would do some sort of mannerism or whatever, or touch the glove or whatnot. And Ronnie would watch me. And then all Ronnie would have to do was put down the same thing that I did to make sure we were all on the same page. And we went 7 scoreless. So it was pretty fun.
Ooh. I'm sorry. I have to say, my favorite part about that is we went 7 scores. The 3 of us
exactly.
together.
The dude's meant to be a catcher.
Yes.
He just didn't know it.
It's
He didn't know it. He's a catcher.
Yeah, and then Jeff Karstens got in on it too, and he was like, "You can call my pitches." I'm like, "Okay." I was like, it gave me just like this most exciting when they pitched. I was so pumped because I had like this whole nother facet of the game that I could be a part of. And I'd be like, man, we should throw this pitch here. And then they get a hit. They look at me and I'm like, yeah, that's on me. That's on me. It's all right. Let's go.
That was a good call. It was a bad execution.
Yeah,
right?
That's outstanding. Yeah. That's on me.
Whoops.
Hey, the coolest part is
you
need to look back. You need to look back at those games. I bet defensively you're at your best because you were so thoughtless.
Oh my gosh.
Because you're locked in the game.
Yeah.
When I had to overly focus on calling pitches, it always helped. Yeah.
Yeah, even as a coach, and I'm calling pitches, like I'm just looking at the hitter.
Way harder over
like,
there.
The pitcher's like, I don't
harder.
have that pitch today, and I'm like, I don't need you to have the pitch today. I just know you can't hit it. You can throw it wherever you want. I was like, that's the best thing about being like calling pitches. I have my pitcher come in, and the first thing he says, "Coach, I don't have my curveball today." I'm like, all right, no worries. Very first pitch of the game, curveball. boom. And they're like, shake it off. And I'm like, okay, boom.
Curveball.
I don't care what it looks like, the bullpen. You're throwing it. It's gonna happen. You never know. But I love that whole calling pitches and just because I see it as a hitter. I like pitchers. Sometimes pitchers like they want to throw their stuff because of what they have, and I've always called pitches against what the hitter does. Just because it's like you can have if your best pitch is sinker, but this guy crushes sinker, then it's no longer your best pitch. So I go off of like when I call pitches and see stuff, I go off what the hitter has plus the secondary part of it is what my pitcher has. So that's always done well for me just because I was always so used to reading swings and reading bodies. The guy takes one swing, you're like, ooh, he's out and around. We can go hard in here because he's not going to get the head to it. Like that's just how the brain like goes, So I love that part of the game. I love pitch calling and the sequences and stuff like that. So it's a fun part.
I do the exact opposite, so it's the best. That's why baseball's the best. I always think about the
so we're gonna be together.
We're going lower than low. Can't hit it today, boys. I double down with my pitchers
in the dugout. I'd be like, "Hey, Mike, we should go here." You're like, "No, we should go here." I'm like, "No, we should go here," and just go back and forth and watch our catcher freak out.
And at the end, it's the confidence of the pitcher, it's execution of the pitch, and if it worked, it's always right. Period. Like line drive out, exactly. Oh, good pitch. Hey,
perfect.
Go.
Perfect.
All right, so when you and I are on a college field and we're doing our whatever black and gold, black and white college World Series, I'll manage one team and call pitches from my side. You call your pitches on your side, and then we'll see who gets the dub. Boom.
Oh, I think. Hey, guess what? We're managing against each other this year at USA. I'm very sad about it, but
we are.
Be fun. I think so. Yep.
Oh, how did you do?
I think you guys should put.
I didn't manage. I was literally.
Oh wait, you were on Owen's team. You were on Owen's team. 0-2. That's what team you were on. 0-2.
We won 1-3. 1-3. I didn't manage.
0-2.
I didn't manage.
Hey, you let Doug McKenry manage. 2-2. That's your own fault.
Hey, 2-2. Yeah. Doug McKenry. I was a volunteer assistant. Doug McKenry was the manager, the hitting coach, pitching coach. I was a volunteer. Maybe ops guy. Best way to put it.
Ops guy. We all need an ops guy. All right.
Yeah,
we all need one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to cut you two off because if I don't, this episode will go on for the next 3 hours, which, by the way, we will have Jack Wilson back because obviously we all love talking baseball. As we get into spring training, we get closer to the season starting. We'd love to have you back, talk about, where this team is projected to go and everything. It's going to be a lot of fun, but that's going to do it for us today. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. Michael, as always, you are just wonderful. Hey, listen to us anywhere you get your podcast. Watch us on YouTube at SportsNet Pittsburgh. Thank you for joining us here on Bucs Bounty, and we will see you next week.